Today we're going to talk about abbreviations. Abbreviations are just short ways of saying or writing things when we don't want to say or write the entire thing. An example of one that you might be familiar with is infop. Infop is not a real word, it's an abbreviation, or more accurately, an acronym, where you use the first letter of each word in the name of something. Another popular one like that is NASA. It means National Aeronautics and Space Administration, FYI. And FYI is another one. It means for your information. Let's go through some specific things about abbreviations in writing. Only abbreviate names of a person if the person is known that way. So Susan B. Anthony is known that way. She's a historical figure, one of the big figures in the United States that have to do with women's rights, to say it shortly. J.R.R. Tolkien is the name of the man who wrote all of the Lord of the Rings books. And a lot of people don't even know what his name is because it's always written just like this, J.R.R. Tolkien. Social titles are usually abbreviated, like Mrs. Brown, Dr. Ramos, Ms. MS period could be used for a woman who either doesn't want to show in her name that she's married or not, or maybe someone who is divorced but is still using her husband's last name, her ex-husband's last name. Miss, though, we don't abbreviate, like Miss Kirsten, we don't abbreviate that. Let's see. Civil or military titles can be abbreviated, often are. This is SGT stands for Sergeant, CAPT stands for Captain, stuff like that for military things. PRES period stands for President, President Biden, President Orlando. Titles or degrees that follow names are abbreviated. For example, Annie Jaran, PhD. Now, I don't know whether Annie has a PhD or not, but that's a doctorate degree in one of the humanities, which her field is psychology. If she has a doctorate degree in psychology, then she would be PhD. Luis Velez Jr. I don't know whether his father's name is also Luis Velez, but when we name our sons after their fathers, we often put Jr. after their names. There's a comma before it, and in those two cases, and in a lot of cases, there are periods required for those abbreviations. Abbreviations or acronyms of organizations, buildings, etc. can be used in writing, but only if they are spelled out the first time. Actually, one example of an exception to that rule is USA. Pretty much everybody in the world knows that what USA means, and so we don't have to spell it out the first time. But here's an example here. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, is one of the United States intelligence divisions. Decisions made by the FBI are referred blah, 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 blah. Okay, if we were writing an essay about the FBI or about intelligence divisions of the United States government, for the first time we spell it out, and then we put the initials or the acronym in parentheses like that. FBI is another one that doesn't need periods. And then thereafter, we can use just the abbreviation FBI. Same thing would be true for Infop. The same thing would be true even for NASA. If you're writing an essay about NASA, I would want you to spell it out first, put it in parentheses, the abbreviation, and then thereafter in your essay, you can use the abbreviation. Some abbreviations may only be used on mail or notes, bibliographies, and tables. There may be a few other chat or something like that. And these that I have listed here, AVE period stands for Avenue, which is English for Avenida. TX is the postal code for Texas. NYC is the well-known short abbreviation for New York City. kbps stands for kilobytes per second, which is a really slow speed of internet. TISC TSP period stands for teaspoon. If you're using measurements, C stands for cup. LBS down here stands for pounds. Days of the week have their abbreviations. You need a period for those. MON period. If you're writing an essay or you're writing a story, don't use the abbreviations for the days of the week or for the months of the year. Definitely write those out. If you're writing an essay or story, and Texas is one of the places that you mentioned, don't use the postal code of Texas. Write it out. Even New York City, write it out. Let's see, BC stands for before Christ. Many times today people use BCE for before the Common Era, which basically means the same thing. All of these things, yeah. Many abbreviations require periods, like AM, like 4 o'clock AM. PNN period is an abbreviation for the state of Pennsylvania. They require periods. DDS is the title, like PhD, for dentists, Doctorate of Dental Science, I believe it is. And CONT''D period for continued. Those things do require periods. Some abbreviations don't have periods. NASA, INFOP, without their info. Those things don't require periods. Many times the ones that don't require periods you can say, like NASA and INFOP, but also there's some like FBI. And we never say CIA, we never say CIA or Kia or whatever, we say CIA. Okay? Just by the way. In general, most abbreviations and numerals lower than 13, by the way, are not used in the writing of regular text. And by regular text, I mean an assignment for high school, a college application exam, an essay contest, a newspaper article, just regular text. Now, when you're talking to someone or on the internet, chatting or writing an email, many times those are more informal. Yeah, you can use abbreviations. But in what I'm calling regular text, which is a little bit more formal, you are not really to use like PENN for Pennsylvania, okay? Or W/O for without. Don't use BFF to talk about your best friend. Don't use SO to talk about your significant other. Don't use TTYL, which means talk to you later, in case you didn't know. Or FYI, which I mentioned earlier, which means for your information. Those are fun little abbreviations that are often used in informal writing or chat, but not in regular text. Instead of using etc., this is an alternative, try using and so forth. Like, there were musical acts, dancing acts, magicians, etc. Okay? But in regular text, try to not use etc. Maybe you could say musical acts, dancing acts, magicians, and so forth. Okay? You could say that. Or better yet, just make an abridged list. And what that means is a list that's obviously not complete. So instead of saying there were many colors in the mural, red, yellow, green, etc., it would be better to say there were many colors in the mural like red, yellow, and green. Okay? And so since I used the word like, then I know that there are more colors than red, yellow, and green. And by the way, red, yellow, and green aren't many, that's only 3. So, just some thoughts on that. When in doubt, and you can't ask and you don't know how to look it up or whatever, write it out. Okay? And again, the numerals lower than 13. 12 is TWELVE. You need to spell it out and not write the numeral 12. And I think that's it. That's all I want to share with you right now. There will be more specifics in the book and several different examples. So we will be going over that in the meet and you will have a written activity, which I have not yet come up with, um, to do after we have the meet. Have a happy day.